It is June, and whether you are just getting started or already growing, there is a specific window right now that most gardeners either miss completely or do not use to its full potential. June is not the end of the planting season. For some of the most productive crops you can grow, it is exactly the right time to start. Stacey Murphy has been teaching gardeners to grow food in small spaces for over 20 years. In the next 16 minutes, she is going to walk you through everything you should be planting right now. The classic summer crops that love the heat-tolerant greens most gardeners never try, and one crop so unexpected that most people in a cooler climate never even think to plant it in June. Let us get into it. This content was recorded at past Grow Your Own Vegetables events, where Stacey Murphy shares exactly what to plant and when to plant it. For more information, free resources, and gentle guidance, you can find us at growyourownvegetables.org. And to grow alongside other gardeners just like you, join our free community at gyov.org.
Are there crops you suggest that are short growing but will handle the hot spikes? Okay, so Wendy, you're not alone. I'm hearing from a lot of people. This happens every season, so know that you are not unique, that this happens to a lot of people. We want to start our gardens and then life gets in the way and we have to go do something, and for whatever reason we don't get our garden in as early as we could, and that's totally normal. And remember, I showed those pictures earlier in the lesson from, let's see if I can put that up here. So I got started, my first farm in Brooklyn was in June. It was like mid-season. And 2 months later, I had a full-fledged, farm going on. So know that it is never too late. That is for sure. And sometimes you just get started a little late in the season. It's okay. So what do you do? Let's say your daily temperatures start to rise above 85 degrees Fahrenheit. So I know that parts of Oregon, the temperatures really don't get above 80, but then other parts of Oregon, they do get above 85. So what do you do? At that point, you're starting to get into the range of crops that they really want, the crops that like the heat, things like eggplant, tomatoes, and okra, and peppers, and cucumbers. Chard is still there. Kale is still up there. So some of those greens are still up there as well. So if you're finding yourself in this place where you're starting your challenge and the days are getting warmer, and maybe if you look out 40 days from now, you think, oh my gosh, if I plant this food now, some of the things like the lettuces and the radishes, they might not make it because it's going to get too hot. So what do I do? You might want to think about a 60-day challenge. I know we don't really cover these crops in this course, but planning for your eggplant, your tomatoes, your peppers, summer squash, cucumber, beans, cabbage, kale, collards, chard, and okra, those are all things that are going to love that heat. And they're all things that are going to be ready in the 55-day range, some sooner. Your beans maybe sooner. Your kale and your collards are going to start to grow and you're going to be able to harvest them before the 55 days. You'll probably be able to harvest them after 30 days or even 21 days. Little baby, leaves of those, maybe not big full-size leaves, but little baby leaves. And so maybe think about a 60-day challenge and what that would look like, and could you plan for that? And then crops that are similar to greens that will withstand the heat. So I put a star next to arugula, beets, and turnips. These are things that are in the 40-day challenge that may deal with temperatures above 85 if they get a little bit of shade. So maybe they're underneath other crops. Even things like heat-resistant lettuces. So if you ever look for a lettuce that you want to grow in the summer, look for a heat-resistant lettuce. That's the magic word. And along those same lines, some of the other less known crops that really withstand the heat well, Malabar spinach, I had an image of that earlier and I'll show it to you in a second. sorrel, amaranth, endive, chicory, radicchio, and Japanese cabbage to a certain degree too. All those things are going to withstand the heat, and they are ready 40 days probably for most of them, and some of them sooner. Malabar spinach and sorrel, you can start harvesting pretty soon after you plant it. So those are things that you might find rising to that challenge of heat resistant and short maturing. And I showed this earlier today, but this plant here is actually Malabar spinach. I just planted this a couple weeks ago in the garden. I don't know, actually it was about a week ago. Wow, it grew a lot in a week. But that's a Malabar spinach plant, and it's going to trellis. It's going to grow up this trellis, and it's going to be a beautiful vining green that is very spinach-like and very delicious. Okay, so what else? And most herbs like the heat too. So keep in mind that all your herbs you can intercrop. And also keep in mind that if you live in a place that has enough moisture, let's say it's hot but it's still moist, you still have some rainfall, you could be growing, microgreens, things like arugula and lettuce and all of those crops, those greens that may not want to grow to full maturity in the heat because it's just too hot. They may make it these little baby plants. You might be able to grow them, and also, of course, you may be able to grow them indoors or in a tray somewhere in a cooler location. So think about all those things, and then also the idea of some sort of shade cloth is another possibility. If you get a lot of sunlight and it's hot, you could consider some shade cloth. So I hope that helps. On the website, here is some fencing that you see around the garden, and then also you can see this V-shaped trellising action, and that might actually, it almost looks like bamboo more than anything else, but could be anything. And so this website is really beautiful, and so here is some of the things that she was talking about. This image on the top is a woven container garden, and basically it looks filled with straw mulch to me. And it looks like and I'll show you a picture in a minute of them growing winter squash on it. And then you can see here the detail that you can use woven willow to kind of wrap and make your own trellises and help plants that want to grow vertically, help to contain them. And here is that website again for everybody to use. And then we can post this in the Facebook group for those of you on Facebook because it's easier to click on from there. And then some more images. I love these little areas like these seated benches that are made out of woven material. And then they have a woven roof, and you could actually grow your plants up and create like a little nook. And if you were to grow something like a squash gourd up that trellis, you could have squash gourds like hanging down into that seating area, which would be really cool. I'm always thinking about edibles, but you could also, grow anything you wanted on that woven trellis. And then there's a couple more images. So here you can see the way that they're creating these little teepees in order to grow vertically, and some lower kind of trellises. They have these arched kind of teepees on the left, and you can see also some woven walls. So anything that can help you bring your plants vertically is an interesting idea. And then she mentioned this image. And so you can see here, so I wanted to chat about this image just for a moment because I think this image is really incredible. A couple things that are going on here. You can see the woven container, and then this is a couple feet tall. For me, it looks like it's filled with straw, and this would be a really great opportunity if you did have a lot of straw to do straw bale construction. And remember all of the things I said about straw bale construction, that you really want to make sure you have organic straw, because if it's not organic, then it's full of herbicides that potentially can damage your garden, and you don't want that. So see if you have a local organic straw available, and you could fill this. And with straw bale gardening, you could add a little bit of nitrogen by the way of maybe some some manure in order to get that straw ready. And there is a sequence, remember, in Module 2 where I talk about straw bales, there's a sequence for getting the straw bales up and running in 10 days' time. And then notice here with these winter squashes, this is really cool, they have the stem of the plant and then the winter squashes, and all the leaves are gone. Now, something to note about that is that a lot of times when you're growing winter squashes, what happens is you end up in moist conditions and you end up with lots of leaves with powdery mildew and other things. It looks like here what they've done is they've cut off all the leaf matter and they're waiting for their winter squashes to harden off. And so we're going to talk about harvesting this coming week. And one of the things that we'll talk about is, I'm going to switch back to this image for just a minute. We're going to talk about how to know when your fruit is ready or not. And we're also going to talk about how to protect our fruit in order for them to be ready for harvest. And so what's cool is you could actually combine some of these techniques where maybe you have these vertical trellises, and here it looks like they have a couple squash plants that are growing vertically. And when you grow vertically, a lot of times people will do this with winter squash. They'll let the plants go horizontally across the ground. And one of the big reasons is that these plants are very heavy with all these really heavy winter squashes. But one thing you can start to think about if you do trellis, so this on the picture here is one way to think about it, is to raise the ground and to eventually take off all the leaves to keep the diseases at bay. But another way is to go vertical. If you don't have a lot of space, because this image here, you would need quite a bit of space in order to grow winter squash. But if you don't have a lot of space, you can grow winter squash. Here is a melon, actually, same family, same idea. Melons take up a lot of space. You could actually grow it on a vertical trellis and then basically tie off the melon to the trellis in order to take their weight off of the vine. And so that's the way that you can get all those trellises up off the ground as well. So really cool website. Thanks so much, Charlotte, for sharing that with us so we could take a look at that. Okay. And next question is from Nancy. She says, is it okay to use shredded newspaper in the compost pile or only in lasagna bed method? The ink is or is not an issue. Use cardboard instead for the lasagna method. So I believe we talked a little bit about this in Module 2 in the Q&A. I think the question was from, I'm trying to remember her name, was it Julia? I can't remember who asked this question, but it was somebody who had 3 questions about toxicity. And so let's just go over this really quickly. And so this really depends on you, Nancy. So if you have anything else to use besides newspaper, then I would use that. If you know it's a trusted source, it's organic, but in our world, things are complicated. Like a lot of us don't have access to organic straw. A lot of us don't have access to organic mulches. A lot of us don't have access to browns for our compost. And so we have to get really creative about what we're doing. And so in some of those cases, people start to use newspaper because they just need something. They need a carbon source. And so if you have anything else to use, I would recommend using that. But when you're thinking about this idea of whether or not you want to use newspaper, here are the different issues so that you can make a decision for yourself. So yes, many of black inks in newspapers are soy-based these days. The big question is, are those inks GMO soy? And if they're GMO soy, that means they maybe have herbicides in them that may be toxic to your plants, and it's unclear how much newspaper you would have to use in order for that to be the case. And so a lot of people don't put newspaper in their vermicompost bins because they're nervous about those herbicides being damaging to their worms. Now, I've had vermicompost bins before, and I've used black ink newspaper. It was soy-based ink, but I don't know if it was GMO, but it worked. It worked. I got worm castings, and I used them in my garden, and it worked. So you have to decide what you're comfortable with and what you're willing to live with. And then the next thing about these soy-based inks is that even though they're soy-based, they still have some pigments, resins, and waxes sometimes included in them. And so it's unclear what's really going on in some of the colored inks. So I wouldn't use colored soy inks. And then the other question is, you know, what's going on in the paper beyond the ink, right? And so if you have paper that's really bleached out, that's probably not something you want to use in your bed. Now, like I said, all this, people use newspaper in their gardens all the time. The question is, at what amount is it like a turning point where it becomes toxic? And we don't know the answer to that, because I don't know that anybody's ever run into that point. If I knew of anybody who had come to that point, I would let you know. But what I do want to say is that in my vermicompost bin in New York City, for the most part, the bedding, I always use newspaper because that's what was available for me. And then, okay, so the question is, what's your comfort level with all of these things that I've now mentioned? And if you want to know what's in your newspaper specifically so you can make a decision, you should call your newspaper, because at some point they know who manufactured that newspaper, and you'd be shocked how easy it is to call a manufacturer and say, hey, I just have a couple questions about your inks. Can I ask you a couple questions? And oftentimes people are very helpful, as long as they know that you're calling not to do some expose on them, but you're calling just to get some information in order for you to make an informed decision. All right, so that's what my answer would be for you, Nancy. So I hope that you are able to make your own decision based on that information, because that's really what I would like to be here for, is not necessarily to always tell you exactly what to do, but to help you understand what are the challenges so that you can make a decision that feels good for you. Okay, so, and one more thing about that. You mentioned compost pile or lasagna bed. For me, it's kind of the same thing. So I would say, I would give you the same advice whether or not it's a compost bin or a lasagna bed. All right. And the one thing I will say is that if you're using it in a compost bin as your only brown, and it's a large compost bin, like I'm talking about a vermicompost bin, which is a tiny thing, you know, I had like a little under the table vermicompost bin. I wasn't too concerned about how much newspaper was in there. But if you have like a 5 foot by 5 foot by 5 foot compost bin and the only brown you have is newspaper, I would recommend finding a different brown. I would recommend seeing if you can get some coffee chaff would be the big one. Though that's often the easiest thing to find if you're anywhere near a coffee roaster. So that's sometimes easier to find in an urban setting.
And now, the most unexpected crop on this entire June planting list. Most gardeners never think to plant these in June, and yet June is exactly the right time. Plant now and you will be harvesting your own fresh ginger and turmeric by autumn. Stacey Murphy has already made a complete guide to growing these at home. Here is how she introduces them.
Well, hello there, Stacey Murphy here from Grow Your Own Vegetables. And in this video, we're going to talk about how to grow ginger and turmeric right at home, regardless of whether you're going to grow in a container or whether you're going to grow in the soil, or maybe you have a short growing season that's a little bit cold, or if you have a blazing hot long season. I'm going to share with you the strategies that you need to succeed, and I'm also going to share a couple of the pitfalls to avoid. And there's so many reasons to grow ginger and turmeric. Holy cow, these little babies. Now, I am no doctor and I don't play one on the internet, but there are tons of studies that show that these have cancer-fighting properties, especially the turmeric, that they boost immunity against all kinds of chronic diseases. They have anti-inflammatory properties. And I know for me, they just taste delicious. And the ginger, I have this every morning. I actually have both of these every morning in my smoothies. And I end up with a boost of energy, and it's just delicious. So not only are there all of these health benefits, but when you grow them at home, the other benefits are that when fresh, these things taste so much better fresh than they do even from the from the ones that you can buy at the grocery store because they're picked directly from your yard. That's one huge benefit to growing them yourself. The flavor is just dynamic. And then there's also the benefit of being in the garden, of course, and having a relationship to the plant. It's just a lot of fun. And the beauty, if you've ever seen a ginger or a turmeric plant flower, it is just gorgeous. And it's a moment that I cherish in the growing season. And the other thing about these plants is that they really don't require a whole lot of space to grow one of these plants right at home. You just need a small container and you can start growing your own ginger or turmeric. And the reason why we're talking about growing ginger and turmeric together is that essentially the same process is used to grow both. So both of them grow rhizomatically. Now, what the heck does that mean? So with ginger and turmeric plants, they start with a mother root, and this is typically what you see at the grocery store. From there, it starts to branch off into different rhizomes. And each one of those rhizomes, they start to create little buds or bumps off the side of them. And those are the things that start to begin to grow more rhizomes and more sprouting plants. And both of ginger and turmeric are a part of the same ginger family, which includes cardamom as well. Okay, so essentially as the buds start to sprout, what's going to happen is that the plant grows more and more rhizomes underground, and shoots are going to come up above ground. And then essentially the plant is going to be perennial. So you can continue to grow the same plant for years. You can increase the yield year after year. And the cool thing is that in the cold climates, you bring your plants indoors over the winter. And in hot climates, they just go dormant below 50 degrees Fahrenheit or 10 degrees Celsius. So this is a plant that you can enjoy So this is a plant that you can grow wherever you live. And that's what I'm going to be showing you in this video.
Watch the complete guide to growing ginger and turmeric at home, link in the description below. Think about where you were at the start of this video, wondering whether June was too late to start. Now look at what you know. The summer crops that love heat. Tomatoes, eggplant, okra, peppers, cucumbers, beans, all of them thriving right now in warm soil. The heat-tolerant greens most gardeners never try. Malabar spinach vining up a trellis, producing all summer long. Squash and melons growing vertically, more food in less space, harvesting through August and September. And ginger and turmeric, the most surprising June crop, plant now in any container and harvest your own fresh rhizomes by autumn. It is never too late. There is always a next window. And right now, that window is wide open.
You are not the gardener who missed the season anymore. You are the one who plants in June, knowing the harvest comes in August, who grows ginger in a container, knowing fresh rhizomes are coming by October, who never lets a planting window close without using it. For the complete guide to growing ginger and turmeric at home, watch Stacey's full video, link in the description. And if you want to keep learning, there is a whole community of gardeners growing extraordinary food the same way, completely free, at growyourownvegetables.org. This Q&A was recorded at a past Grow Your Own Vegetables event, and what Stacey just shared with you took her years of growing, failing, and figuring out to discover. But here is what most people watching this do not know. Stacey is just one of 15 world-class experts we have sat down with. Soil scientists who have spent decades unlocking what makes food grow stronger. Clinical herbalists who have turned ordinary gardens into medicine cabinets. Master growers who have cracked the code on growing more food in less space with less effort than you ever thought possible. 15 experts, 15 breakthroughs, each one sharing the single lesson that took them a lifetime to learn. And every single session is waiting for you right now, completely free. One registration, instant access, no credit card. Just go to growyourownvegetables.org/summit, and the moment you sign up, all of it is yours.